Where buying is cheaper than renting. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, let's look at this article from news.com.au. Sydney suburbs where buying a home is cheaper than renting. Now, we've all heard it. We've all heard the line, rent money is dead money. You know, you're paying off someone else's mortgage. Apparently it's something everyone hates here in Australia, but then everyone wants to own several houses, negative gear them, and rent them out. We're living in a rental up the road as we're about to do the renovation on this place. The house is abandoned. That's why you may have noticed the lighting has changed in recent videos, because I'm now running off a power pole and I've got, I've set up some temporary camera lights. It's probably better than what I had before, to be honest. But we're in a rental and, they're not going to spend any money maintaining it, not going to spend any money repairing it. And, I don't blame them. They'll milk the money from it and then demolish it and sell it one day, the land. That's where the money is. The house is just the depreciating asset in some regards. But, when interest rates are so low, it's cheaper to get a mortgage and to buy a property than it is to rent. What does that tell you? Well, it also could be that depending on the location and what you're looking for rentals. I'm sure there'd be a lot of apartments that'd be pretty cheap to rent now in Sydney. So it is cheaper for new homeowners to pay down a mortgage than stumping up rent in some Sydney areas, despite a recent explosion in prices. New economic data. Rock bottom interest rates have made home ownership cheaper than renting in many Sydney pockets, despite a recent explosion in prices. Data published this week showed Sydney prices hit a record high this month after soaring 5.7% since October, but monthly mortgage repayments are still lower than rent in many instances, especially for apartment buyers. Really? I thought apartment rents were crashing. Maybe we'll have to see. Home buyers got the biggest savings compared to renters in the Sydney areas, with a high concentration of recently built units. Analysis of mortgage and price data revealed. They included Liverpool, Granville, Guildford, where paying down a mortgage on an apartment was an average of $100 to $250 cheaper per month than renting at current rates. Now, here's the issue. When you're buying in an apartment, there's also the body corporate, all of the other costs associated with it. The cost of joining the little socialist utopia, which is your apartment complex. Then there's also the risk of buying into an apartment complex, particularly in Sydney, where the construction sector has overheated, and we're seeing building defects just manifest. You've got Zetland Apartments, you've got Opal Tower, you've got Mascot Towers, you've got the Sugar Cube, and that's just the ones in Sydney that I spoke about, about a year ago. And they're all around the country, everyone. The problem is when you overheat a construction sector, kind of like what's happening with regards to government stimulus now, you might get corners cut. That's the sad reality of it. All of a sudden, the time you get to document a project gets squeezed. All of a sudden, the time you get to work on a project gets squeezed. Deliveries to site rock up later, or they don't arrive, or you've got to make do. It's what happens, everyone. It goes a bit crazy. So, buying a home in other apartment hubs such as Olympic Park, Mascot, Parramatta, and Homebush was on average about $20 to $90 per month cheaper than renting, when excluding, here we go, the associated costs of ownership such as council and strata fees. There you go. When you're excluding all of this other stuff, and you can't just diminish that and throw it away. I'd bet you the people who bought into Mascot Towers, I bet you they are regretting buying into that. Maybe they would rather have rented. So you've got to... I know it's tough. I know it's tough when you want to get into a place. People get exhausted. They get exhausted, and we were the same. We were just looking. I was getting so frustrated, looking. And that was even when it wasn't busy. I was getting frustrated because everything was so expensive. Find a home loan expert, Sarah Migginson, said low interest rates had made property ownership more realistic for buyers, despite prices increasing by significant margins in recent months. The thing is, you were going to have more and more of a difference between people that have not been affected by these restrictions on the economy and those that have. And they're going to be able to get in and others won't. So, a $10,000 deposit in Liverpool? Okay. Property prices are on the rise. However, it is still far cheaper to pay a home loan now than it was a year or two ago, she said, depending on where you're buying. You could be paying less than renters from the get-go. Homeowners got even better savings outside of Sydney, with paying a mortgage cheaper than renting in about 40% of the country, according to additional finder.com.au data. This assumed the buyer had a 20% deposit, no easy feat in the current market, and bought at the median price in the suburb with an average loan rate. The average loan rate is 3.5% according to the ABS, but some loan products offer rates as low as 1.88%. I mean, there you go. There's the monthly savings. That's just showing you how high the rents are. Now, if more people are just buying, will rents be maintained at that level? I mean, let's look at SQM. Let's have a look here. What is it? We want Granville. 2142, and we can see here. Okay, here's unit prices. I mean, there you go. Look at that. $500,000 for a 2-bed unit on all units. Housing the same, going up. So it peaked here in 2015 and slowly been tracking down since then. And apartments, they've kind of stayed pretty flat for some time. You've got to remember their holding costs associated with these things, guys. So, Aussie Home Loans Chief Executive James Simmond said the cost gap between buying and renting has tightened across the country over the last year. Why pay your landlord when you could potentially pay the same amount or less on a house or apartment that you can call your own, he said. Why pay your landlord or pay the bank? Well, there are some advantages to renting. Hopefully, they would fix the damage that occurs to the property. You don't have to worry about maintenance. You don't have to worry about rates. You don't have to worry about water. You don't have to worry about any other costs associated with the property. Mervac, head of residential, Stuart Penclis, said Sydney buyers may have a limited window, there's a FOMO, to potentially get apartments for lower prices that would be cheaper to repay each month than paying down rent. Growth in apartment prices has lagged house prices in recent months, but the experience of previous market booms suggests this discrepancy could not last indefinitely, he said. Well, how do you know, mate? This isn't the same as previous market booms. Immigration is pretty much dead in the water. International students are not rocking up. Where's the tourists? And there's the ever-growing threat of lockdowns. So do you want to be stuck in a little apartment? Growth in established house prices will eventually spill into the unit market, he said. People are starting to see the value proposition of larger apartments, and investors are beginning to return to this market. Newlyweds, Michael Heise, a builder, and Yasmin J, a fashion designer, recently purchased a new unit in the Liverpool development, Cali Apartments, and said it was good value. Typical mortgage repayments on Liverpool apartments are about $190 per week lower than average rents in the area. What are they paying there? And how? Only a 10 grand? The couple purchased their unit with just a $10,000 deposit through a scheme provided by the developer. Okay. The repayments are really low for a 2-bedroom unit, he said. We thought it would be a great investment. If we want to rent it out, the rents will cover the repayments easily. If you get someone in there. McGrath's project's agent, Glenn Craigie, said most buyers coming from out of the area didn't realize just how much better value they could get in the southwest. Liverpool is pretty underrated, he said. It's probably the best market for first-time home buyers. Erica Moncada, 25, moved into her first home in new development Ed Square in nearby Edmundston Park last year, and said she wasn't surprised buying was cheaper than renting. I started looking in the inner west, but everything was much more expensive and smaller, she said. I'm very happy with what I got. I think more young buyers need to be made aware of what you can get in this area. I mean, so there you go, guys. What do you reckon? Would you look at getting into a unit? My only concern is with the potential risks of buying into one of these units, with a property market that has been overheated in Sydney with some of these developments. What you want to look at, well, a few things. You want to get a building and pest inspection that looks at the entire building, that even goes up into the services. Because if there's any leaking or damage up in these things, or you're a party to that. You want to get down into the basement, look for signs of concrete cancer or any repairing work. If there was a development done next door, this is what the people at Mascot should have done. You want to look at if next door has done a dilapidation report of the building, so if there's been any damage rampant on it. Look at Google reviews. Google reviews. People were complaining about Mascot issues for years. Look at those. Try and find it. Don't just trust your lawyer and the conveyancing. You need to be an investigator and look into these type of things. Because that's the problem. The developers will set up all these little proprietary limited companies for each development, and will just, it disappears if they need to. So you got to be careful, everyone. It looks nice in the renders, but you got to make sure it's built nice as well, because stuff can just happen. You never know. So there we have it, everyone. Where buying is cheaper than renting. What do you reckon? Do you think it'll last? Or do you think it's just a few select areas where people are jumping in? Would you buy or would you rent in this market? Let us know. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care. Have a great day. I will see you next time. Bye for now.